Welcome to the Author's Corner Review, brought to you by KNEO Radio 91.7 FM. I'm Roberta Foster, and today I'm going to share some interesting nonfiction books with you. And according to the American Psychological Association, the average American spends more than 5 hours daily on digital devices. The impact has been catastrophic. Adults are more mentally, physically, and spiritually unhealthy than ever before as they find themselves distracted, weary, depressed, and skeptical. In a culture that idolizes instant information and constant connectivity, John Eldredge asserts that people have unwittingly sacrificed their spiritual connection for quick fixes, and it has ultimately led to a place of despair. In his new book, Experience Jesus Really, Finding Refuge, Strength, and Wonder Through Everyday Encounters with God, John Eldredge offers a way out of this soul-depleting cycle through the path of the ordinary mystic, a path that allows us to return to a vibrant relationship with God and experience His presence as our refuge. A best-selling author, counselor, and teacher, John Eldredge invites readers to a journey that moves beyond the shallow pragmatism of modern life and into authentic daily encounters that are rooted in communion with Jesus. He lays a biblical foundation for Christian mysticism, urging readers to reclaim childlike faith and the transformative experience of God's presence. Eldredge illustrates what it means to live as an ordinary mystic, that is, someone deeply grounded in faith, awake to God's daily presence, and committed to rediscovering the resilience of a life rooted in divine communion. This journey, he asserts, is accessible to everyone willing to pause, seek, and turn their hearts to Jesus. Experience Jesus Really outlines practices, habits, and prayers to help readers break free from a culture that constantly pulls them away from faith. Complementing the release of Experience Jesus Really is a 5-session Bible study from Harper Christian Resources. In this study, John invites individuals and groups to find their refuge in Christ to experience deep, lasting, real communion with Him. This is the rarest of journeys. It isn't based on more knowledge and data, and that's a good thing. As disciples of the internet, we're drowning in an endless sea of information. What we need is to experience more of Jesus and discover how God is our refuge. Nothing is more essential or has been more opposed. In the dawn of our childhood, we lived with God in Eden. We flourished in the shelter of a paradise where heaven and earth met, but we lost that home and have been seeking refuge ever since. We are meant to flourish in the fullness of God's kingdom, part of which is this world we see, and part is what we cannot see, but is equally real, the refuge of the Almighty and the vast wonders of God's kingdom. It's time to find our way back home. A life of everyday encounters with Jesus will help us get there. John Eldredge, as spiritual father, reveals how to experience the everyday refuge, strength, and wonder available to the friends of Jesus. In this 5-session series, you'll discover what children and mystics know, the refuge of God, love and truth as refuge, Jesus, the integrating center of all things, and the wonders of God's kingdom. And those books are called Experience Jesus Really, written by John Eldredge. The book is put out by Nelson Books, and the Bible study by Harper Christian Resources. Our next book is written by Carl Clausen, called Killing Sin, Conquer the One Thing That Is Defeating You. That book published by Moody Publishers. Sin is passé, overrated, obsolete, part of the past guilt-inducing patriarchal religious system, or so many want us to believe. This leaves us to do what seems right in our own eyes, what gets us ahead or keeps us in power. Christian pollster George Barna says concern about personal sin is on the wane in the United States. Well, no surprise there. The majority of his respondents don't believe in absolute truth or that the Bible is authoritative. And 70% think people are basically good. Yet the Bible tells us otherwise, that the heart of man is deceitful. Carl Clausen is the author of Killing Sin, Conquer That One Thing That Is Defeating You by Moody Publishers. His perspective is that we have shifted the emphasis on sin and wrongdoing to a pathology or family origins. In so doing, we've removed personal responsibility for our sinful choices. It's the hiding of sin that compounds the effects of sin. Some don't hide it, they rationalize it, minimize, or try to outrun it, says Clausen. We live in an age of victimhood where assigning blame or outside of self seems to assuage conscience, but it never removes the effects. Family of origin, our boss, government, spouse, kids, birth order, injustice, and God are just a few targets that we use to excuse our sin, says Clausen. The problem with this self-deception is that victimhood keeps untold millions from facing their own sins. Nothing changes, only the way we spin it ourselves or others. In Killing Sin, Clausen takes a different approach by encouraging us to take one thing we most struggle with and deal with it ruthlessly. Victory leads to victory, momentum matters, and everything changes when that one thing is conquered, he exclaims. Clausen understands. He's been there, struggled with drugs and alcohol, found freedom through killing his own sin. To defeat sin is to first recognize it, humbly admit our need for help, and to set boundaries. Be bold and take action. Setting boundaries is a key to removing temptations that trip us up. The good news is that we don't need to be stuck in endless patterns. It's never too late, and you're never too old. You're never too worn out or too worn down. Your story is still being written. God can handle your darkest sins and your hidden shame and heal your deepest pain. God's compassion and care are only outstripped by His passion and intention to help you. That's Killing Sin by Carl Clausen and published by Moody Publishers. And next we have a book called Sacred Science, Understanding Divine Creation, written by Dr. William West, a Harvard and Johns Hopkins trained oncologist and researcher. He has advanced cancer care and research for over 3 decades. As a Christian and lifelong member of one of the largest Methodist churches in the U.S., he has lectured for more than 40 years on the myth of science and faith being at odds, believing they support one another and that science reveals God. If you review the impulses that created the universe, directed the unfolding of life, and empowered human consciousness, you reach an undeniable conclusion. An omnipotent creator supervised the unfolding of our universe. From the moment of creation to the emergence of a planet tailor-made for life, from the journey of multi-million species to the development of an upright creature hungry for God, science tells a sacred story. A superintelligent creator used his mathematical genius to convert lifeless equations into galaxies, planets, and people. His love has been visible throughout the process. Could our journey reflect thousands of random accidents with no divine guidance? Creation delivered impulses that filled the universe with galaxies and stars. Eliminate any one of these blueprints and the universe would have been stillborn. Stars produced a perfect mix of elements to bring the universe to life. Without a robust ensemble of gene and protein sequences, life might still be living at the bottom of the sea. Hundreds of human genes convert the neurons of a human infant into trillions of networks in an adult brain. Without those God-given genes, a dangerous world may have left us trapped in the treetops with no interest in science at all. But God shared His mind and triggered the emergence of human consciousness. Where do we find ourselves after centuries of scientific searching? We see that science reflects its source. Science is a gift of God's creative love and nothing less than sacred. And that's Sacred Science, Understanding Divine Creation by William West and published by Post Hill Press. Now recapping the books I've shared with you: Sacred Science by William H. West, published by Post Hill Press; Prior to that, Carl Clausen wrote the book Killing Sin, Conquer the One Thing That Is Defeating You. It's published by Moody Publishers. And previous to that, we had the book and workbook, Experience Jesus Really, Finding Refuge, Strength, and Wonder Through Everyday Encounters with God by John Eldredge. The book published by Thomas Nelson and Nelson Books, and the workbook by Harper Christian Resources. If you'd like more information on any of these books, we encourage you to visit the publisher's website. This has been Roberta Foster with your Author's Corner Review. Join me again next time on KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word.